Can anyone hear me? All right, thank you. So let's start this session today. Welcome everyone to the ID Analytics alumni webinar. It's been a few months. I think we've missed like 2 months, and this is supposed to be monthly. For those periods or those times that we missed the webinars, it wasn't deliberate. It was just because of some circumstances that came our way. And if they were early foreseen, we would have been able to make some arrangement or some adjustment to the timing. But yeah, here we are for this month. Um, the last time that we met, we looked at some things around the Power Platform, generally giving an introduction into Power Platform and what that world is about. I mentioned that the Power Platform is the low-code tool for, or low-code suite of tools for Microsoft. And in that family, we have 5 products, if I'm not mistaken. So we have the Power Apps, we have the Power Automate, there is they used to be Power Virtual Agent, which is now the Copilot Studio. There is the Power Pages, um, and there is a fifth one. Was it Power BI? So those are the 5 products that we have in the Power Platform family. And what that means is that this set of tools, being low-code tools, implies that whatever we are doing in any of them, we are not necessarily writing traditional codes. What traditional codes look like is, for example, for every single function you want to use, you are the one that is creating those functions. Maybe you're doing that with Python, you're doing that with C Sharp or whatever programming language that you used to. You are the one creating the functions from scratch, and then later in the code lines, you are using or making calls to those functions. But if you look at all of the tools that I mentioned, especially for Power BI, which most of us may be familiar with, you realize that all you're doing mostly is function calls. All the functions have been developed, they have been pre-programmed, and what you're necessarily doing is making calls to those functions and utilizing them. So a lot of relief has come from the angle of the functions being already pre-built, pre-developed, pre-programmed, and what the user is essentially doing is putting together those functions to achieve certain goals. So that is the idea behind low-code tools. And the major reason why low-code tools came into play was to cut down development time. Imagine that within an organization, there is the need to create an application for people on the field. Maybe we have a sales team, and the sales team, they need an application to manage their sales pipeline such that when they meet a new customer, they take requests, they take specific comments, all of those are logged into a system, and they can come back to refer to them to measure their progress in the sales cycle. So that's development of the application might take months or weeks by if the programmers will go the traditional way. But imagine you are now able to develop a similar application in hours or days, and it will be a functioning application that collects the data, writes the data into whatever data source that you have defined, and everything just flows seamlessly. So that's the idea behind low code application. And because it's low code, it doesn't necessarily need a lot of the technical proficiency that would be needed if anyone was to go the route of traditional application development, or as the case may be. So that's the idea for low code application. So one which we have chosen alongside our Power BI is the Power Automate. And why did we choose Power Automate to go through? Again, the first is there was a request around it from the alumni that we should look at some use cases around Power Automate, which was the first. And then the other thing was because Power Automate seemed to have like an interesting link to Power BI. So Power BI can do a lot, but for Power BI, one of the things that you can use to enhance, to extend what is possible with Power BI is to use Power Automate with it. There are a couple of use cases out there that we might be looking at, but today we have one that I want to take us through. And this will just set the pace around use cases that we can begin to think about, especially in the work environment, as to how you can use Power BI, Power Automate to solve some Power BI related requests. Number one is that for organizations that use Power BI, so one of the things that we know, especially for people who have been uh, working in the space for some time, you know that when you build Power BI reports, you still have some stakeholders that will come to you to say that, okay, they want you to enable downloads or export. So you have your Power BI report already published to the Power BI service, and people still come to you once in a while or every now and then. They say, oh, help us export this report. We need a report in PDF, we need a report in PowerPoint, we need a report in certain format. So how do you manage such requests? The problem with such requests is that sometimes you are not even able to imagine that on the report page you have like 20 pages and all they need is a page or two, and you're not able to export just those 2 pages. You need to export the entire report and give to them if you're going the traditional way of exporting. So these are many more are some of the things that we can use Power Automate to handle, and Power Automate would handle that bit for us very excellently. So let me share my screen at this point, and so we can get into some quick demo. I'm just gonna share. Let me share. Let me share my screen. So I'm sharing the screen here, and I'll go to powerautomate.com. So on the side, let me also try to open outlook.com, or maybe I can even fire it to Gmail directly. But let's see. So now we had looked at this interface in the last session where we understood what's going on here and what we can do from each of these tabs. So I'm just going to go straight to my flows, or I come here to create. So if I come here to create, these are the kinds of flows that we can build. So we have the automated cloud flow or the instant cloud flow. So automated cloud flow means that the flow would run based on an event. So something must happen, something precedes or initializes the flow run. So imagine we are saying that do this if this happens. So that's the way. So when that thing happens, the flow would automatically kick up. Then we have the instant cloud flow, which is you're the one that would run the flow yourself. So imagine there's a case where you have developed a workflow, but this workflow does not have a pattern. It's just once in a while that people would ask for something, the result of that workflow. So you want a case where, okay, I've built it. Whenever you guys need it, just let me know. And then you press a button and the entire flow runs, the output goes to them. So that's an instant cloud flow. And because it's an instant cloud flow, one of the things that you can do with this is you don't necessarily have to be on your system to trigger an instant cloud flow. You can do that on your mobile device too, especially if you're on an Android device. So you just go to the Google Play Store, you download the Power Automate app. So if you go to the Google Play Store, you see a Power Automate app. You download it, you sign with the same credential, and from your mobile, you can trigger an instant cloud flow. You can also monitor how your flows are doing across every kinds of flows. Then we have the scheduled flow. So for scheduled flow, what you are doing essentially with it is you want the flow to run on a schedule. Maybe every Monday morning, you want something to happen. You want an email to go out. You want a report to go out. Or maybe every single day, you want a reminder to go to your Teams channel. Or maybe just a couple of things that has to do with timing. So if time is part of this, if time is what would determine when that flow runs, then it's going to be a scheduled flow. And this one to say you want to describe it and design it. So this is you now using Copilot to build your flows up. Then we have the desktop flow, which has to do with you automating something around applications, legacy applications that sit on your system. We have the process mining, which helps you look at the process involved in doing something and highlight the bottlenecks and what you can automate within that particular process. So for our case today, we will do a scheduled flow because we want it to be that this request of having to get Power BI reports out to our stakeholders, maybe it's a case where they want that report every Monday morning or every day or just at different cadence. So that's one thing that's what we want to build a solution for. So for this, I'm just going to say that this flow name is IDA webinar reports. Then when do I want this to start? So I want it to start today. Again, the start date can be wherever. So it could be that maybe you want it to start tomorrow. You want it to start at a particular time, maybe 8 a.m. in the morning. So I can come here to see 8 a.m. And this is one bit you need to pay very good attention to. What is the repeat frequency? How frequently do you want this flow to run? If you, by whatever means, leave it on minutes, this flow would run every single minute. So which means you're going to be bombarding people with requests or with output every single minute. So you have to pay very good attention to this. So what we'll do is, because we want this report to go out once a day, so I'm just going to come here and say once a day. If you want it to be weekly, maybe on weekdays, you can come here to say, oh, this should run once a week. But you want it on specific days. Maybe you want it on weekdays. So I'm going to take out Sunday, take out Saturdays. What that means is that this flow would run every Mondays to Fridays at 8 a.m. So once you have all this set, I can go on to create. Now, when you begin this, one of the things you want to pay attention to is that from my experience, the Power Automate schedule, I think it works with a UTC timing. So what that means is that UTC is an hour. So it's an hour. Okay, so if the time is 5:13 now, UTC will be 4:13, if I'm not mistaken. So which is an hour behind GMT. So that is something you want to pay attention to. So if you come here to, this is the trigger, this is the schedule to run the flow. I can come here to edit it and I say that you should show the advanced options. And within the advanced option, you can select the actual time zone that you want this to run over. So I just say that I come here to the time zone and you try to see, I think we should have WAT somewhere, West African time. Let me see. Is this actually, this not in alphabetical order? So this will be UTC plus 1. So this is West Central Africa. So this is the timing. This is the Lagos timing, which you might want to actually use. So once this is set, it means that this will now match the actual timing that you have on your system, which is the Lagos time. Now that we have this, the next thing is that we want to be able to send our reports out automatically. So let's look at the report first. So if I come here to powerbi.com, so I come here to my workspace. So my workspace, I have a few reports here. So I have a Quad 3 class file here. Okay, so let's imagine that this is the report you want to send out to people every Monday morning, and you want this exported. So what you might want to do is this. Remember, this is on my workspace. I'm hammering on this so that we pay attention to something. But first is, if I come here to Power Automate, and everything that you do in Power Automate runs in sequence. The first thing happens, then it goes down to the next thing, it goes to the next thing, it goes to the next thing, and it continues that way. So if you want to add a step to this, so this is the trigger, which is what will happen, what will make the flow even run in the first place. But beyond the trigger, we now need set of actions. What are the things that will happen once the timing that we have set has reached? So I come here to new step. So in the new step, this is where we now select the set of actions. There are a couple of actions that we can select, and this action tied to specific tools. Imagine that maybe every single day your data is coming from somewhere, you want to update an Excel spreadsheet, you can have it tied to an Excel online. Or maybe there is something around an email that has to go out. You have it tied to an email action. So the way to determine what action to use is to think about what product has what you want to do, or what product relates to what you want to do. So for our case, we want to do something around Power BI to be able to get out something from Power BI and send it via email. So I can type Power BI here. And once I type Power BI, I can select Power BI on this. And now this exposes us to all of the Power BI related actions that we can do from Power Automate. So today we'll focus on one. In the next 2 or 3 months, we'll focus on a few other use cases as well. But just to give us a high level, so if you have ever worked with goals and scorecards in Power BI, there's certain automation that you can do around it, so which has some actions here. But the one we want to focus on today is to export to file from Power BI reports. So I'm going to select this. I want to be able to export a Power BI file and send as email. So the first thing this is asking for is, what is my workspace? So if I select this drop down, this will load all of the workspace that I have access to. But the first thing is, if you're having to connect to Power BI for the first time, this will ask you to sign in. So you need to sign in. So for me, you will see that I'm already signing. There's an account here that I'm signed in with. And so I'm just going to come here to say that this is, I need to select a workspace. So this is my workspace is what I'm connecting to, and there's a reason, because I want to show us what happens with this. And what is the report? So this is the report Quad 3 class file. Now, here it says, what is the format you want to export? You can either export PDF, PowerPoint, or PNG. So PNG is image, PPTX is PowerPoint, or you export in PDF. So I usually do PDF most of the time, but you know that you have those options available. There are a couple of other settings that we'll come back to in a moment. So I'll leave this this way for now. Then I will go to the next step, and I say I want to be able to send an email. So I want to send that email. So I'll just come here, Office 365 Outlook. That's what I want to use to send the email. And I want to use the send an email action, this action. So I'll select the action. Okay, started this twice. So I'll come here to the send the email. Who am I sending this email to? Let's say I want to send this email to ng.id analytics at gmail.com. So I want to send the email to this email address. And then what is the subject of the email? So I want to say that this is the maybe sales reports. We can enhance this. I'm coming back to that. Then what will be in the body of the email? Can say that, hi there, kindly find attached the report, the sales report. Then we need to now include the file as an attachment to this email, because again, that's what we want to send to people. So I'll come here to show advanced options. And in the advanced options, then come here and say, okay, what is the attachment name? The attachment name is sales report. It's just more like what do you want to save the report as? And then what is the attachment content? I'll click on this. And the attachment content, remember, is coming from this action. This is the action that would have exported the attachment. So I'll just come here, click on this, and then I'll select it from the dynamic content. So I'll save file content. But let's notice a few things that will happen now. So I'll save this. Now let's test. I'll say, so the automatic testing is not available now because the flow has not run at all. So I'll say I want to manually test this, and then I will test. So I'll run flow, click on this, and let's see. I know this was going to fail. Why would this fail? It says report requested for export is not on dedicated capacity. So one of the most important, or one of the important information that a Power BI developer must have, especially when you start to think about automation, is to have very good knowledge of Power BI licensing. So when it comes to Power BI licenses, today we have the Pro license, there is the Premium per user license. There used to be the Premium capacity, which is now been changed to Fabric capacity. What's the difference? Pro license, Premium per user license, those are user based. So every single person is licensed, gets a license. And Pro, I think today it's around $14 per user per month. Premium per user, I think it's around $24 per user per month today. But when an organization is on Fabric capacity, so what they are licensing is capacity, not users. So which means the organization is buying a space from Microsoft that they will use to manage all of their Power BI and data related artifacts. So they are not necessarily paying per user. So in that case, they will probably be on F64, F128, depending on the tier, and that is a lot more expensive. But when an organization is on Fabric capacity, they don't necessarily, so because the baseline for Power BI is this: report builder and report user must have a license. So if an organization like our own IG Analytics, we have our reports built and published to the Power BI service. Every single person that is building the report and publishing to the Power BI service must have a license, at least a Pro license. Every single person that would view and use the report on the Power BI service must have a license as well. But when an organization is on a Fabric capacity, they don't. So for developers, they will need Pro licenses for developers, but for viewers of the report, they can view for free. So they can onboard as many users as possible on the capacity, and they will be able to view the reports freely. So those are some of the differences. So now this is saying that if we want to use this action, that we want to be able to export file out of Power BI, we need to be on dedicated capacity. So what we need to do is simple. You can come here, so long as you already have a Pro license, you can come here to your account, and then from your account, you'll see an option here to start a Fabric trial. So just say you want to start a Fabric trial, and that will be it. So just click yes, yes, yes. It gives you 60 days trial or something, and this trial naturally will auto renew itself. So which means when it expires after 60 days, you can renew it. You start another 60 days. So it's something that you can actually use for quite a while. So once this is done, then the other thing is every single workspaces that you have, every single workspaces that you have in Power BI is tied to. Okay, good. So every single workspace that you have has an associated license or capacity to it. What that means is that when you are creating a workspace, you need to define the kind of workspace. So if I come here to new workspace, I give the workspace a name. One of important information is to say that, do you want this workspace to be a pro workspace, or you want it to be a premium per user workspace, or you want to be a fabric workspace? So if you have a fabric trial, or your organization is on fabric capacity, and you do go on to now build a workspace that is on pro, what that means is that you only still be limited to related offers. And you can do things directly because so our case, every single report that you want to be able to export must either be on Fabric or Power BI premium capacity. So one of these two. So I have a workspace that's already on that. I'm just going to come here to training. And on the training workspace here, I have a report I've pushed, which I use for this case. So this workspace is on the Fabric capacity. So while this is coming up, I'm just going to go straight back to the Power Automate. I'm going to edit this. So while I edit this, so I'll come back here to the Power BI action. Come here to reselect the workspace, and the reports will be. So this is still loading. So quote 4, that's the report. And then I'm leaving every other thing as is. So I'm just going to close this, and then let's save this guy. I will try to run again. So I'm going to test this, and I will say test, and I will run this flow. Done. So let's see how this plays out this time. So this is running this time. So depending on the size of the reports, so just reports that we are exporting, this report has just a few pages, maybe just 3 pages are on this report. So depending on the size of the reports, it might take some seconds up to some minutes. So you just need to bear that in mind. So but this took like 43 seconds, and this is completely done. So if you come here, you'll see that this gives you a summary of what has happened. An email has gone to this and this and this. So let's see what's going on. So I come here to this. Let me refresh if the email actually came in. So the email is here, BI department, and this is this. But now the problem is, if I try to open this, if I download and I open it, it actually doesn't open. This is a corrupted file that I've sent to myself. The file just actually does not exist. Okay. So it's actually worked this time anyways. Maybe there's an update, but before now, let me show you what could have happened. So if I come here to this, before now, if you had just gone this route, you get a file that will not open. And this is what I mean. If you come here to where we are defined the attachment name, before now, you must ensure that you add the file extension to it. So which is, if you had come here to export the export of Power BI file, you had said that, okay, this should be a PDF. An extra thing you have to do is to say that in the name of the file itself, you put .pdf. Before now, if you do not add this .pdf or .pptx or .png, as the case may be, if you do not add this extension or this suffix to the file name, the file will come in a way that you can access it. So that is maybe this now an update Microsoft has done. So which means you don't necessarily have to put this, and then you'll still be able to open the file. But again, so look at what we have. Here's this again. So I go to this, yes, downloads. So open this. Yeah, so this has come here, and we have this page on the report, just a single page. So if I come back here to this, we have a couple of other settings that we can look at, but let's take a look at the report. This is the report itself. So imagine that this page that we have brought out is not the only page that you want, or it's not even the page that you want. We have a page 2 here. And let's imagine that maybe this page 2 is what you want out, or even just page 3. But again, by default, because page 1 is the page that is not hidden, you will always get out page 1. Let's check again. I think there's an option to select if the pages it should include hidden pages. Okay, so this option here, let's try this out. Include hidden pages, this one. So if I say that, yes, I want to include hidden pages, so I select a yes, and I click on, my system is hanging a bit, okay. The cursor is dragging, kind of. It's not even, okay. Something is going on. I'm hoping that it's not something that's been scheduled that's running at the background. Okay, so let's save this, and then let's test. And that is one thing you need to also pay attention to when you do a lot of automations. There are times that maybe by whatever schedule you've set, something else starts to run on the background, and is taking tolls on your system. So we are running this time, and let's say if that option would expose all of the pages, because those other pages are hidden, and let's see if it all comes out this time. And this is something you eventually will not have to worry about, because if your report is so large, and probably imagine maybe that would take like 3 minutes to export, so long as this has been scheduled, automated, you wouldn't even know how long it's taking. You just see the reports land in the email, as the case may be. So we have a new file that's been sent. So I'll come here, and you see the difference this time. So this one comes as an actual PDF because of that extension that we added. So the previous one that we add, it didn't show like a PDF file. So which means that it's still important to include the .pdf extension. And if this were to be a PowerPoint that you're sending, include .pptx. So let's look at this. This is the first page, the second page, and the third page. So that's that toggle works. So which means if you have hidden pages and you want to include them in the export, you just have to turn that option to yes. The default is that it doesn't include them, so you don't necessarily need to say no. So, but let's now imagine that From all three pages, this second page is all you need. If I come back here and I edit this again, and I come here to this option here, there's an option to specify the actual page name. How do we specify the actual page name? You might be thinking that, okay, if I come here to the report, the page name is page 2. That's what you see here, but that's not going to work. So let me come here. I say that, okay, page's name, I say page 2, like this. And then I save. And then I say test. So test again. You see that this has failed already. And why did it fail? It says export report with page names which does not exist, which means that name, Power BI does not recognize the name. So how would you get the actual page name? This is it. If you come to any Power BI report, any Power BI reports, and you come here to the URL, you pick this URL. Let me open my notepad. If I open this, so if I paste this here now, how do I zoom into this? Okay, so I've pasted this here now. You'll see that these are in different sections. So everything at the start, this is like the Power BI .com itself. Now, if you want to know the ID to the specific workspace that you're working with, this is like the ID here. This is the ID for that workspace. Now the report itself has an ID, which is, this is the identifier for the report. So whatever name that your report carries, Power BI does not recognize it. This is the name it knows. And if you are on a specific page, this is the actual page ID. And you see that as you go from one page to the other, this ID changes. So this is what Power BI recognizes. And this is like the architecture. So whatever Power BI URL you pick for your report, you see the workspace ID, the report ID, and the report page ID. If you were to click on a data set, you see the workspace ID, you see the data set ID, and like that. So if I come back here and I go to page 2, and I pick this number, this URL, and I come back to the notepad, I put this here, you notice that this page ID is now different from this one. So this one is different from this one because they are now different pages. This is page 1, this is page 2. So this one is what I will pick, this page 2, and I come back here, I go to this, I edit, and I come here to page name. I paste the ID here, that's the page name, and I click on save. And I come here to test this, test again, click on test. Let's see how this runs this time. So this is running. It's gonna take some seconds as always. So this should be done soon. I think it's averaging around 40 seconds. Okay, so this is done. Let's see what we get this time. So I come back here, and this is the latest. So if I open this, you notice here that this has a single page, and the only page that got exported is our second page. So this will save you a lot of stress. Your stakeholders, you've already taken your time, you've had to burn a lot of sweat to build different reports for them, and your report, imagine, has 10 pages. But what is most important to your stakeholders is something on a single page. Maybe you have like an executive summary, and you know that each time you export these directly from Power BI, all pages get exported naturally. Uh, so except you know some ways around it. But again, you can use Power Automate to give them specific pages. Another thing is, imagine that you have different stakeholders wanting different sections of the report. Maybe someone is the head of sales, is only interested in the sales section of the report. Your head of finance or finance manager is only interested in the finance side of the report. Head of operations only interested in operations side of report. Can use Power Automate to build a workflow that filters the reports to the exact pages each of the departmental heads would need, and you send that to them automatically. So you don't have to stress about having to manually extract what each person would need. So there are a few other options that you see that we have here, especially if you have built a report that's implemented row level security. Your report has implemented row level security and you want to still implement the row level security. The option is here where you're able to implement RLS. So you see the option here, identity roles. So what you just do here is just to pick the RLS actual names, and then you put that here, and as many as possible. That would filter the reports down based on the roles that you have defined. And then, excuse me. And then the other option here is maybe you want to export the report by specific bookmarks that you have created already on the Power BI desktop. All of these are possible. So the other thing you might just want to enhance here is say, okay, you want to say that sales report for maybe today, you want to include today's date in this. So I can come here to say that because I want the actual date that the report is going out to be what will be in the subject of the email. So I can just come here to expressions and I say that I use the function UTC now. I have this, I do okay. So this will say sales report for whatever dates that you're sending the report out. The couple of other things you might want to do, you might want to say that, okay, I'm building this flow, but maybe there is one general email that you want to use as the sender. You don't want to be sending as, because naturally, when you are sending emails from Power Automate, it's going to send as whatever you are sending with. But let's say that maybe there's now a an email that's been created for this purpose that does not necessarily is the email that you use to build your workflows in Power BI, Power Automate. You can put that email here as, okay, this should be the sender of the email, but remember that email must be an email on your tenants. And maybe you want to put some people on copy or BCC. All of these are possible. You may also want to set the sensitivity for the email as such, and then you probably want to also say, okay, how important is this email, and you want to allow them reply to specific emails. So all of these options are here. So let's just test this, and then so I take questions next if we have any. So let's say this, go out again. Okay, so this has gone out. Let's look at the subject of the email which you've updated this time. So you see that the subject has changed, but again, it's coming with the actual date, the actual time, including the milliseconds. So we can just quickly format this. I come back here to edit. I go to the email action, and I come here to this that we've created. I just come here and see um, format date time. So I want to format whatever date is being presented here. I want to format this, say maybe DDD, and then the month. I think the month is capital. And this is something you need to kind of pay attention to in Power Automate. So the formatting is not as direct sometimes. That's what you get in Power BI for the Power Automate expressions. And when you're writing anything in quotes, Power Automate would take, I think it takes single quotes for its expressions, except that's been updated. But before now, if you do with double quotes, that's not going to go through. So let's see if this gives us just the dates this time around. And we close it there. So let's see. Okay, so let's go here. Let's see what we've got. So you see sales report for Sunday, 21/06/2026. All right, so I think with this, we've been able to look at some basics. If anyone has specific questions, I'm happy to take questions. So this is one of the use cases. In the next month, God willing, we'll take a look at another use case as to how you can use Power Automate to enhance your Power BI work, or even to extend it so that your work is a lot easier. Things that people would have come to you for manually, you are able to build a solution around it and get it to work on your behalf. Any questions from anybody? Um, does Power Automate require subscription or license to work on? So ideally, baseline, if you're already on Microsoft 365 Enterprise, you don't need a Power Automate license at the base level, depending on the connectors. So what I mean by connectors is what set of tools or what set of products are you automating around? So if all you're automating around is the likes of Power BI, maybe Excel, SharePoint, um, Outlook, Gmail, you don't need an extra license. But when you start to automate something around SQL Server, Dataverse, you will need an extra license, which is a Power Automate standalone license. It used to be around $10 ish per month before now, but I'm not so sure what the current cost would be. But a lot of the times, for things that you want to automate, you might be able to get a workaround as to, okay, maybe it's not exactly important that you use SQL Server. Maybe SharePoint can work for your case. So the license that would naturally come with Microsoft 365 Enterprise, maybe E3 or E5 license that the organization already has, might just suffice for Power Automate. I hope that helps a bit. Oh, yeah. All right. So, okay. Thanks for your feedback, Rafia. Thanks a lot for joining this month's webinar. We'll meet again next month by God's grace. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day, everyone.